Hello and welcome to Kelly Legends Media. I want to say thank you to all the subscribers. We're at that 7,000 subscriber mark. So we'll be having we're not going to call it a raffle because it's not an actual raffle. Raffle somewhere where you buy a ticket and then people raffle things off. This is a giveaway. But so we're going to have the giveaway for the t-shirts. I already have the t-shirts. And there's no cost. Okay, all you have to do is be present on the live, and you have to be a subscriber. If you win, I'll take down the names of the winners, and I'm gonna look them up and see if you're actually a subscriber. If you are a subscriber and you want that t-shirt, you'll be delivered that t-shirt. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that'll be happening next week because I want plenty of time for any. I want everybody to have an opportunity to hear when the raffle's going to be. I'll have an exact day, which date it's going to fall on. It's going to fall on the weekend. So probably Friday or Saturday, because Sunday I'm going to be busy, but Friday or Saturday we're going to raffle off those t-shirts. I'll announce an exact date starting the beginning of the week, and I'll announce it every day. So that way nobody could say, well, I didn't know, I didn't get a notice. If you're watching the videos, you'll know for sure. So that being said, thank you very much. And our next goal is going to be the 10,000 mark. That's quite a ways from 1,000 every month and a half. So I figure it's going to take us at least a good 3 months to get to the 10,000 mark, if we continue growing at the rate we're growing. The channel's still fairly new. It's just a few months over a year that I created this channel, this platform. So if it continues to grow at a similar rate, we should be there in a few months. And that giveaway is gonna include a lowrider bike, all chrome lowrider bike, with the forks, the big handlebars, the banana seat, the whole shot. I'll get a picture out and a few other items, But that's when we hit the 10,000 subscriber. And all it is just me giving back to my subscribers. It's not a bribe. It's not anything like that. It's just me saying thank you. So, anyways, that being said, this discussion is going to be a little bit serious. It's going to involve some bad things happening to people, and the responsibility that I take in the harm that I did to these people's lives. Okay, now people say things like, oh yeah, you get Klecha from the OG and listen to the OGs and all of that, right? But like I always say, man, you got to take the meat and leave the bone, man. Don't bite into everything that you've been told. Use your own discretion. Use your own mind. Be smart about things. I'm not saying that any of these people that I influenced weren't smart. I just wish that maybe I would have been smart enough not to influence them in that direction, But what I'm talking about is being from a neighborhood and doing things like starting a clique, starting new cliques, recruiting people, putting people on and talking to them how to do things, when they're up to doing their tricks and stuff, and it cost a lot of people their lives, I'm not talking about that they lost their lives. The first person I'm going to mention, yes, he did. He lost his life. I wasn't directly involved in recruiting this guy, but nevertheless, I kind of influenced my homeboys by saying, yeah, the vato's a good dude, yeah, if he wants to get in the barrio, get him in the barrio, yeah, this and that, blah, blah, blah. 2 days before he was shot on Whittier Boulevard, he came to my house and he had just gotten out. He came to talk to me about his mom. Okay, his mom was having some trouble with some of my homies, and he asked me to talk to my homeboys, and to ask them if the mom could have until Christmas to move out of the neighborhood. She had did some things that was unacceptable, unquestionable. So I told him I do the best I could. I went, I talked to the homies and everything, and we came to an agreement. Well, 2 days later, um, I was driving down Whittier Boulevard and I seen a crowd of people, and I seen some homies that I hung around with. They were, one was my age, one was younger than me, and I pulled up and I just had a feeling. I go, is it a homie? And they said, yeah, and they told me who it was. And I stood there as the investigators were doing their investigation and everything, and at the same time we were doing our investigation, talking to people that were around the area when it happened and stuff. And the sheriffs knew what we were doing. They knew who we were. They knew us well, and we even got into it with some people while we were doing this. And they just came over and just asked us to kick back, and stop. That they were very busy right now doing their investigation, and the sooner they're able to get the job done, the sooner they get the homie off the street. And they told the other dude to jam, and we just kicked it. We stood there in the area. Although we were moving around, working the crowd and stuff, but we stood there in the area. And all the time that every time I turned around and I looked at his body there covered, I felt some sort of way, some sort of responsibility, because I helped bring him up and bring him on. And and another guy, okay, this young man, he lost his life, may he rest in peace. But another guy, good kid, man, always smiling, laughing, joking, good personality. It was fun to be around. He hung around with us, man. I mean, we used to go from Los Compadres liquor store to one of the local bars, to go play pool and drink and, just run amok. There'd be like 20 of us walking down the street, 5 on this side, 3 on that side, another group up ahead, but we'd all be, going down the street. And this kid was always always with us, right? And we had asked him if he wanted to get in the neighborhood, and he was like, I don't know, he was undecisive. And one day I suggested to the homies, you know what? Fuck it, just rush him in, just get him in, which is something that happens from time to time. You got somebody that hangs around with you. He knows a lot of things because he's been with you guys while you're doing your thing, and he's right in the thick of things. The only thing that's holding him back is his instincts. So we would take that from him by just getting him in and then seeing his reaction from there. And he ended up getting his driver's license in the neighborhood. Man, he took full advantage of everything. He got more in the mix. And he allegedly took somebody's life, and he was fighting a life sentence for a very long time. And I would think about him from time to time, or he would call to one of the homies, and they'd have him on the phone, and they'd give me the phone, and I'd talk to him. And I always felt this feeling like I was partially responsible for the situation he was in. But there was nothing I could do. It was too late. And luckily, fortunately, he's been down a while already. Even before my little homie was shot on Whittier Boulevard. Even before that, he was already busted for this charge, and he's going to be getting out in 5 years. So he's fortunate in my eyes. By the time he finished his case and everything, the time he had in the county, I don't know how they give you your time, but that helped a lot being in the county for so long. He ended up just having to do 5 years, and hopefully he's able to do those 5 years and make it out, you know, because that's never promised to you when you go in, and you know, and you're doing your thing in there, you know. So I just hope he makes it out, you know. But I've always felt a little bit of not guilt, but responsibility for that happening to him, and for him going that route, because he probably never would have took those steps, you know. And then the last one that I want to mention, which is the less, like, you know, one lost his life, one lost his freedom. This homie was like a tornado, man. You know, like he wasn't even from the neighborhood, man, and he was with the business, you know. And we decided to have him start up a clique in the neighborhood, you know. And me and another homie gave him the blessings to go ahead and start recruiting under the name of a certain clique, right? You know, but this was his thing. So yeah, he did. A lot of those guys, ended up being arrested shortly after, you know, being initiated. They ended up catching time, you know. During that time when they were out there, they were very, very active and all up in the mix with everything that was happening in the street, you know. And I don't know. I think homie was like probably a little bit too hard for some people, you know, and you know, he was doing things his way, which really I didn't see nothing wrong with it, but other people who weren't even really even in the neighborhood helping with anything like recruitment or bringing up the youngsters or anything, right? You know, would complain and stuff about small things, stupid things, you know. Anyways, you know, he ended up with this girl. She got pregnant, and you know, that's a hard thing to do when you're young, and you know, things you're doing your thing, and then your girl's pregnant. And I suggested to him straight out, man, look, worry about that baby and taking care of it was going to be a boy. I told him, man, taking care of your son, and you know, do you know. But this guy was like, he was stubborn, you know. He was going to do things his way. He liked the barullo and everything. And some things happened that kind of opened his eyes. Nothing I had to do with, but the guy's working now. You know, he's got his own place. They have two children now, and he's living a better life. You know, and I'm glad, and I encouraged him to focus on that. Because I was kind of worried he's going to end up like the other two guys. You know, either dead or in prison. You know. And also because, you know, I was already stepping back, you know, and you know, I just couldn't be out there like before. Even my older homies were telling me, "Hey, homie, you're too old for this shit. Kick back, fool." You know, and yeah, it's just I just decided to take my own advice, man, and get my life together and do me and do my family before I run out of life, you know, of my lifetime, you know, whatever I'm gonna be allowed to live. And now these are just three people that I mentioned, okay, but I've been responsible for not directly but indirectly. I hold myself responsible for encouragements that I've given throughout the years and stuff. It's all part of that life, that gang mentality, that, you know, just growing up with all of this, being surrounded by all this and living this life, you know, and trying to prepare them for the times they fall into similar situations, you know, and some of them did. And like I said, you know, those are the things that you play with when you're that's the stuff you use to gamble when you gamble your life in the streets, you know, your life and your freedom and your family, you know. So I just wanted to ask, you know, those of you that have experienced similar experiences or not, what do you think? You think that it's only right for me to feel the responsibility for these things, um, or I shouldn't feel that way, or and be honest, you know, because I'm gonna think and feel the way I do about it. You know, that's probably not gonna change, but I'm just curious. And any of you that are older homies that are still around with your younger homies, look out for them. You know, in a real way. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, always look out for their safety and their well-being first. You know, especially if they have children. You know what I mean? Enough kids are left fatherless and left to find their own way. I was one of them because my dad died when I was a very young. I was a kid, you know. I was 16 years old, you know. So, you know, I was having a baby. You know, I was just starting life, you know. I my first job, my first apartment, all that when I was 16 years old, you know. And sure would have been nice to have that guidance, you know what I mean? So whenever we do things with kids in the neighborhood and stuff, I recommend if they're listening to you and stuff, whatever you're telling them, man, make sure it's not a crock of shit. Be straight up with them and honest with them, and let them know the possibilities and stuff, man. And if they're still stubborn and hard-headed enough to go that route, then that's them. But I just want to ask those individuals, man, to think about what you say to them, you know, because it could be detrimental to their life and to their freedom, you know. My homeboy, he got a good little chunk of time. I know the other guy, the victim, he lost his life, you know. So all the shit and damage that did to that family, you know, and that individual's loved ones, even if he was an op, you know, you know, there's so much involved with the things we do, you know, and a lot of times in the end it wasn't really worth it, you know, if you really think about it, you know, like, you know, oh, this is our park, man. We don't own a park. None of us own a park. You know what I mean? You know, so you're gonna kill somebody because they're in your park. You know, that's kind of crazy if you really think about it. But I get it. You know, the territorial aspect of calling a park belonging to your neighborhood and all that. I get it's part of the life and part of that lifestyle, and that's why I say all the time, man, to stay free and you know, make good decisions, because a lot of times decisions we make or advice that we give on decisions other people are making could be detrimental to their life, to their freedom, to their health, and to all of that of their loved ones, you know. That being said, I'm going to end this video, and I hope to hear from you in the comment section. And thank you for watching. Enjoy Memorial Weekend. Um, Thanks to all the servicemen for their service and those of them that lost their life. Um, and rest in peace, you know, all the kids that have died in the streets. God bless you. God bless your family. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.